Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is the end of March, I believe March 28th, and I got all of my payments for the month, so let's go over what I spent, saved, and allocated my money towards for this month. Starting with our bills, I wrote them all out because they all came in basically at the same time this month. So in my last video, I did already pay rent, and I actually paid rent again this morning because we do tend to pay it a little bit early. So I'm just gonna check that now. Netflix came out a day ago. Groceries came out. I wanted my groceries to be like $150, and as you can see, I went over the first time and a little bit under the second. So we're still kind of working on the grocery bill. For my bus pass, we paid $0. Blog was $5 as usual. YouTube Premium, $25. Apple Storage, 99 cents. And then electricity, we paid early. And we actually paid electricity for April early too. It was $58 and some change. I don't remember what the change was, but I will have this updated in the next video. So that's everything for my bills. Pretty stable, nothing changes. So let's move on to our savings and other housekeeping type of things. Okay, so as you can see, for the month of March, I saved $6,000. And I know that's kind of a jump from, zero for January and February, but it's because I did get paid my bonus this month. Me and my husband both got paid bonuses, but he didn't contribute his bonus to this. So I got paid a $9,000 bonus, and after taxes, it was $6,000 and some change. So I just threw all of that to savings, which brings me to $36,000 total in my emergency fund, which is great. So we're gonna actually continue to save until we reach 50K if we can. I'm probably gonna put in about 500 a month going forward. So great start, and let's see where we can take that. And then for our investments, my husband invested $2,000 and I invested $2,000. So our balance in our shared investment account, our individual brokerage, is now $50,000. That doesn't include any gains or losses. As you guys know, the market has been pretty down for the past month. It's been insane. So we are at 50,000, and I'm actually going to hold off on investing because we want to spend some time beefing up our savings and saving for our trips. So speaking of trips, I think I'm gonna add that because we are trying to go on a trip for Memorial Day. And as you guys know, I always go somewhere for Memorial Day, my husband's birthday, and then in December, right after Thanksgiving. So for our first trip, we are planning to go to Vancouver, and I don't necessarily have a goal for it, but I think I'm gonna probably have about $2,000 total for the trip. So that's what we're gonna try to save for. And the due date is 28 May 26. And I did pay on 3/27/26. I did put $1,000 towards it. So that means I am at $1,000 for that trip. And that includes lodging and car. Me and my husband go half on that. So that includes that, and then spending money. So that's what we're gonna be working on for that trip. And then I'll start incorporating savings for my July trip when we get a little bit closer. We like to do things one at a time over here. Okay, so for the month of March, I wrote everything down already because you guys know I don't like to waste anybody's time. So I wrote down everything that I needed to. I added sinking fund because I kind of last minute decided to put that in there. And let's see where we're at. So I'm not actually gonna add my savings because I didn't budget for my savings, that's extra. And then my sinking fund, I'm not gonna add that either, but I'm gonna bring that back into my income when I do use it in May. So that money will come back. So all of my expenses, bills, and living came out to $2,390.40. So we have a difference of $72.25, which is crazy because I did some overspending. As you can see, my miscellaneous, I went over, as well as for beauty, I went over as well. And even living, I went over by like less than $10, right? But because I was under in other categories and I allotted myself enough to spend for the month, I didn't blow my budget, which is great. One other thing that I do want to bring up are my goals. I wanted to have 12 no spend days and I had that, which is great. My goal was also to save $8,000 because I had a feeling I was going to make at least $5 grand for my bonus. So I made that. And then I wanted my net worth to go up $2 grand. Now it actually went down $9 grand. So I checked this in the middle of the month and it had gone up and I was like, great, that's fantastic. But even with saving $8 grand, I'm down 9. So didn't make that goal and that's fine. I'm completely fine where we're at. We're just riding the waves of the market and hoping for the best and taking advantage of lowering our dollar cost average. And as you guys see here, we did some spending, but the spending doesn't go to the bottom of the page anymore. If you guys were watching last year, you know that a lot of my spending would get to the bottom. I would add lines and sometimes even go to the next page. So that was a whole mess. So if you look up here, you can see my income tracker. Like I said, on the 10th, I made $6,300. On the 12th, $2,551, and then on the 26th, $2,551, for a total of $11,420.35 for the month of March. That is not normal. As you guys know, I usually make $5 grand. So it's gonna go back to $5 grand going forward here if I do not come up with any secondary sources of income. So all of that savings, as you guys can see, it's the behavior. You guys know I invested $2 grand. I spent 13 on rent and then I saved 6,000. That's how much of that did I save? I saved 8,000 of the 11. Let's see what that percentage is looking like. %70 of my income I put away. 70% of my income is in the stock market, in my savings account. 70%. Now, is that a normal number? No. Will this number continue throughout the year? Probably not. But this is another thing. If you guys saw my video about debt and banishing debt from your life, when I said I leverage luck, this is how I leverage luck. I was lucky to get a big enough bonus, and instead of spending that money, I put it away. I still have that money and I'm gonna use it for when I need it. So that is how I leverage my luck. One other thing I wanted to mention, as you can see, I used to get like $2,520 and then $2,480, but now it's an even $2,551 each time. That is because I lowered my contribution at work to the bare minimum in order to get the full match. And the reason I did that is because there was a change made at my job where instead of getting allocated our matches into our 401k monthly, they changed it to where we're getting it twice a year. So we're getting it in June and then again in December. And I was like, you know, if that's the case, cool. If I'm gonna miss out on some time in the market, fine. But I'm gonna take the extra that I was putting into that and put it into my individual brokerage so that one, I don't have to wait until 59.5. And then two, it's not locked away to where I can't get it if I need it. So I'm just moving money and putting it in places where there's more liquidity. It's not necessarily a total loss, but it's kind of a bummer. And so that's why my checks are a little bit bigger. Now we can do our math. So total income was $11,420.35. Total expenses, total expenses was $2,390.40. The difference was $72.25. Total saving was $8,000. Balance forward, $72.25. And I'm gonna already just put that into the top of the next month here. Okay, so that'll be ready for us in April. Now, in terms of our monthly recap, where did I have the most trouble this month? I didn't have any trouble. Honestly, I've been with Lent and just seeing how things are in the world. Spending hasn't been too much of an issue. I've not had really a need or a want to spend money like that. I did come up with some things that I did want to get towards the end of this month that I'll just wait a week to get when my budget resets in April. So no trouble, honestly. I'm not even gonna write that down. What could I improve this month? I think I need to rebalance some of my allocations in my budget categories. The one being beauty, because for me, beauty is like skincare, but also vitamins. I need to be able to afford both of those. And maybe I can make it like a quarterly type of thing. Skin, nails, and vitamins. It doesn't run out monthly, so I don't necessarily need to spend on that every month. So I think maybe next month, I don't know what it's gonna look like, because we're good with hair, we're good with skin, and we're good with vitamins. I think I'm gonna change beauty to quarterly or QOM, which is every other month. I think that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I could improve on. Also, just not being so strict. So I need to kind of adjust some other categories too, like pets. I'm starting to contribute a little bit more for pet things and like household items. So I need to just like be able to be more dynamic with my budget as things come up. What goals can I set for next month? I think my biggest goal is going to be contributing to my sinking fund for travel, as well as saving in my emergency fund. Those are the two. Emergency fund boosting and sinking fund boosting. As you guys know, we are leaving the first quarter. It was a crazy quarter. We saved $5,000 in January, $5,000 in February. So that's 10, and then 8 in March. So that's 18,000 total. It actually comes out to 20,000, but I don't remember exactly how so. But we saved 10,000 on my end, 10,000 on my husband's end. And now we are going to kind of focus on other things, more pleasurable things like travel and boosting our emergency funds, just because the world is kind of on fire at the moment. So the direction of these budgets going forward are going to be less aggressive in the market, and we're going to square the first quarter away, and we're going to focus on just building everything else so that we can be more well-rounded and have more liquidity as well. So that is everything for this video. I'm gonna go live to set up my April budget probably next week, early next week. And I look forward to seeing you all there. But let me know in the comments how your March went. What are your goals that you had for March? Did you make them? And then what are your goals for April upcoming? Happy spring. Thanks for being here. And I will see you in the next video.